Thy word is a lamp unto my feet, and a light unto my path.
Hello, today we're going to be reading Psalm 2 for our daily Bible reading. Psalm 2 from the CSB. Why did the nations rage and the peoples plot in vain? The kings of the earth take their stand, and the rulers conspire together against the Lord and his anointed one. Let's tear off their chains and throw their ropes off of us. The one enthroned in heaven laughs. The Lord ridicules them. Then he speaks to them in his anger and terrifies them in his wrath. I have installed my king on Zion, my holy mountain. I will declare the Lord's decree. He said to me, "You are my son. Today I have become your father. Ask of me, and I will make the nations your inheritance, and the ends of the earth your possession. You will break them with an iron scepter. You will shatter them like pottery. So now, kings, be wise. Receive instruction, you judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with reverential awe, and rejoice with trembling. Pay homage to the Son, or he will be angry, and you will perish in your rebellion. For his anger may ignite at any moment. All who take refuge in him are happy." This psalm and the psalm we just read the other day, Psalm 1, actually seem to go together very well. They work in a chiastic structure, which is usually an A thought and then a B thought, and then B and A. So you have a reversal of the thoughts from Psalm chapter 1. And actually the first phrase, the first line of Psalm 1 talks about how happy or blessed someone is a similar phrase to the last line of Psalm 2, where it says, all who take refuge in him are happy. So you have these two psalms that tie together so well. Nick talked about Psalm 1, and we looked at how this is really talking about an individual and the path that they take. Well, Psalm 2 kind of takes a step back, and now we're going to talk about the nations and how they rage and plot against the Lord and his anointed one. And we'll see as we talk about it, just some of the language in here is clearly messianic. Talks about the anointed one and the Son and how he is begotten of the Father. And it's no coincidence that several times through the book of Acts and through the book of Hebrews, I invite you to look at some of those verses. But this psalm is quoted, I think, maybe not the most, but at least one of the most quoted psalms in the New Testament, because there is so much reference to God and his Son here. But it's interesting. It starts off just as Psalm 1 finished up talking about the wicked, as kind of on an individual basis. Psalm 2 picks up with these wicked people on a national scale, kings of the earth conspiring together against his anointed one and trying to throw off their chains, which I find interesting in verse 3. Let's tear off their chains and throw their ropes off of us. Well, they've been... who wears chains? Who wears ropes? It's those that are under control, that are enslaved, and they are trying to cast off the chains of the Lord and his anointed one. And what does the Lord do? It says in verse 4, the one enthroned in heaven laughs. He ridicules them. Look back at Psalm 1. It talks about, sitting in the company of the wicked, the mockers. These people mock the righteous. Well, what is the Lord doing? He's laughing at them. He's ridiculing them because of they're trying to do something that's impossible. They are rebelling, but they're rebelling against someone that controls everything, the ruler of the world and his anointed Son. So he can't help but laugh at them, and this is not a funny laugh. This is just a type of laugh that I can't believe that they're trying this. It's so ridiculous. Then verse 5, he speaks to them in his anger and terrifies them in his wrath. And this is where I think the psalm really becomes powerful. He reminds them of what he's done. I have installed my king on Zion, my holy mountain. It is God who appoints kings, and it is God who has appointed the King of Kings, and he has begotten his Son. Verse 7, I will declare the Lord's decree. He said to me, you are my son. Today I have become your father. Or many versions talk about today I have begotten you. And this is not a type of father-son relationship where the father is the creator of the son. That word and that terminology implies equality, that he has begotten him and made him a son. And what does he do? Verse 8, ask of me, and I will make the nations your inheritance, and the ends of the earth your possession. He is the one that determines who is in control. God is the one that gives authority, and he has given all authority not to these kings and these nations that rage, but to his Son, the Anointed One. And he will have that authority. He has the ends of the earth are his inheritance and his possession in verse 8. And what will that Son do to these nations, to these wicked ones like we read about in Psalm 1? All of these people that try to throw off their chains and rebel against God. What will he do? In verse 9, you will break them with an iron scepter. You will shatter them like pottery. They will be nothing. They cannot stand up against the might and power of the Lord and his Anointed One. So we wrap up this psalm with wisdom. Just like at the beginning of Psalm 1, describing the righteous man, the one that walks in the delight of the Lord. Well, now we see what these kings, if they are to properly serve God, and if they are to be righteous, be part of the righteous group, this is what they should do. Verse 10, receive instruction, you judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with reverential awe and rejoice with trembling. We are to fear God because, again, he laughs at those that try to rebel against them. He is so much greater and so much more powerful that it doesn't make sense but to have reverential awe, to rejoice, to tremble, to fear him. And of course, pay homage in verse 12. Pay homage to the Son, or he will be angry, and you will perish in your rebellion. So we can only survive by paying homage, kissing the Son, as many versions say. And of course, that makes me think of just a king. If you ever see someone greet the Queen of England, they often bow and maybe kiss her wrist or something, or kiss her hand. That's a common way of just showing fealty to someone. So the Son is our ruler. He is the Anointed One, and he will, if we rebel against him, we will perish. We don't want his anger to ignite against him. And all who take refuge in him are happy. That is the message. If we try to take refuge in our own might, in the might of our nations, the kings, anything else besides doing what's right, and besides in the Son, as we talk about, then we will perish in that rebellion. But if we want to be happy, just like in the beginning of Psalm 1, how happy is the one who does not walk in the advice of the wicked, or stand in the path of sinners, or sit in the company of mockers. All who take refuge in him, verse 12 of chapter 2 of Psalm 2, those are the ones who are happy. So I just invite everyone to think about these two psalms together, not just one or the other, but think about these together, read them together, and just remember that we serve this Son that we are talking about here. Even I love that this psalm is years and years before even Christ was born, but David was talking about him so long before. Something so important as the coming of the Lord's Anointed One obviously would be talked about years before, and that's exactly what's happening here. This is clearly a messianic psalm looking forward to the coming of that Son and the coming happiness that comes by serving him. So I just pray that all of us today will remember to serve that Son. That is who we want to serve. That's the one that we take our refuge in, and not to rebel against him as so many nations, so many peoples, so many wicked men do, but to serve and be happy in serving him. Thank you so much.